Chapter 1. You are listening at famvetv.info. Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation, little b asterisk tch. Don't lie on the ground and pretend to be dead. Get up and get to work. Gu Qingxue had just regained consciousness when she heard a fierce voice, which made her frown. She hated it when someone made a loud noise while she was sleeping. Gu Qingxue wanted to open her eyes to see who was making a noise, but she had a headache as if she had been hit by a heavy object, and her eyelids were heavy. Don't hit my mother. Then, a young child's voice sounded, full of panic. Gu Qingxue felt a small body pouncing on her, and then she heard the sound of a whip hitting her body. Ugh. It hurts. The child's painful moan sounded in Gu Qingxue's ear. Her heart could not help but feel shocked, and then she opened her eyes abruptly. The first thing she saw was a small, tender face that was wrinkled like a bitter gourd. It looked very painful, but she gritted her teeth and refused to moan anymore. For some reason, Gu Qingxue looked at this small face, and her heart ached. Some unfamiliar memories kept flashing in her mind. Without waiting for Gu Qingxue to think further, another whip swung toward Gu Qingxue's face. If this whip struck her face would definitely be disfigured. Her body reacted faster than her brain. Gu Qingxue instinctively raised her hand and grabbed the whip that was about to hit her face at lightning speed. At the same time, her cold eyes swept coldly at the woman holding the whip. Yu sure did not expect Gu Qingxue to be able to grab her whip. She looked at the woman lying on the ground in surprise. She happened to meet Gu Qingxue's dark and bottomless phoenix-like eyes. In an instant, she was stabbed by the coldness in those eyes. How could it be? Come and read on our website Wuxia World site. Thanks. How could Gu Qingxue, this good for nothing, have such a terrifying gaze? While Madame Yu was in a daze, Gu Qingxue had already picked up the little boy who was using his body to protect her and stood up from the ground. The little boy was nestled in Gu Qingxue's arms, his big black grape-like eyes filled with disbelief. Oh, God. His mother actually hugged him. Gu Qingxue did not notice that the little boy in her arms was already in a daze, his pitch-black eyes staring coldly at Madame Yu, who was standing opposite her. Madame Yu felt that the woman in front of her was different from before. Although Gu Qingxue was arrogant in the past, she was just pretending to be aloof. She was not like how she was at the moment, who exuded an overbearing and cold arrogance from her bones. Madame Yu had always been used to abusing Gu Qingxue. She did not want to admit that she would be frightened by Gu Qingxue's aura. She pulled the whip in her hand hard. Let go of me. The end of the whip was still in Gu Qingxue's hand. As soon as Madame Yu finished speaking, Gu Qingxue's hand suddenly exerted force and pulled the whip hard. Madame Yu was pulled forward. Her fat body was not flexible, so she fell heavily on the ground and fell to the ground. Her chin happened to hit the hard ground. Madame Yu was in so much pain that tears came out of her eyes. She opened her mouth and let out a scream. Read latest chapters at Wuxia World site only. At the same time, the long whip also fell from Madame Yu's hand and was completely in Gu Qingxue's hand. The little boy who was lying in Gu Qingxue's arms looked at the scene in front of him. He was so shocked that his mouth was half open and his big eyes were wide open. Oh, God, his mother is so king amazing. Madame Yu's fall was so severe that she could not get up from the ground for a while. Listen to the full novel at famvetv.info, direct link in the description.